Hello everyone, it is day 13 of my 60-day training plan for the Spartan Sprint in May, and it is April 1st, 2012. So today was a purely aerobic day, which means I ran 5 miles, it was my long run, and I also rode the bike twice for a total of 15 miles. So very good workout today, pretty happy with it. This coming week I go up, so I will be doing 5 miles, and then a 4-mile tempo, and then my long run goes up to 6 miles. So I'm really looking forward to that because my weekly mileage goes up to an area that I'm really looking forward to being at for some other reasons. Anyway, let's talk about resource of the day. The resource of the day is YouTube. Obviously you are familiar with YouTube. You're watching this on YouTube. But a lot of people don't realize you can find some very, very good and very specific information on YouTube. For example, you can find very specific ways to deal with injuries. IT band stretches are a great example, or different types of stretches. Examples on how to deal with plantar fasciitis, or how to do pretty much anything. So it's a great resource if you're interested in learning about barefoot running or minimalistic running. Do a search for that, and you are going to find a slew of videos that talk about it. But more importantly, and the reason I mention it is you can look at proper form for running to avoid injuries. And proper form means you avoid the heel strike and you try to land on the mid or forefoot. And there's some great videos on what that looks like and how to move toward having that running style, which I highly recommend if you want to keep running. What's amazing is that 60% of runners are injured every single year. So over a 5-year period, 89% of runners get injured. And you can greatly reduce your odds of injury by not heel striking because of the way the energy hits the heel and the knee and the lower back. So once again, I know I've mentioned it before, it's a great way to modify your running so you can keep running for the rest of your life. Well, hopefully can keep running for the rest of your life and run injury-free. I remember reading about the high percentage of injuries in runners, and someone, I can't remember who wrote this, but they said that if there was a disease or a drug or a food or anything that caused those kinds of numbers to occur in any other group, the CDC, for example, would shut it down immediately. So obviously running injuries are not life-threatening, but it's a really high number, and we can bring it down by improving form. So, which leads into the tip of the day, which is before you run, don't stretch. So 89% of runners stretch before running. It's part of the routine. And studies have shown that if you stretch before running, you are more likely to have injuries than if you don't stretch. The best way to prepare for running is to warm up. And the best way to warm up is probably to walk or do some other kind of exercises that warm up the muscles. So now I understand that that could be controversial, but do the research, check into it. In fact, the people they are recommending flexibility exercises, not stretches, because stretches are considered to be static. So you do toe touches and you hold it for 10 to 30 seconds. Well, those can lead to injuries, and that's what does lead to injuries, it seems. So walking is what I do, and it works really well. They say to walk before you run for 10 to 15 minutes. I usually go about 5 minutes, and that works for me. Probably should go a little longer, but I don't. So that is the tip of the day. Don't stretch. Look at some flexibility exercises instead. And don't do them before you run. Walk before you run. The last thing is, yesterday we had some sad news in the running world. If you've read Born to Run, you know of Caballo Blanco, which means white horse. It's a name that the Tarahumara Indians gave to Micah True, who is an ultra runner, He died last week sometime. He went out on a run. He was visiting some friends in New Mexico, went for a run, a 12-mile run, which is very short for him, and never came back, and they found his body yesterday. He was only 58 or 60. I saw 2 different ages in 2 different articles, but very young for anyone, and unfortunately it's a loss for the ultra running world. He is the director for the Copper Canyon Ultra Marathon, which is held every March, and hopefully that event will still continue. When I read Born to Run, I had a desire to run that race, so although don't tell my wife. But I would love to go to the Copper Canyon and see it, although it may not be for this race since he's passed away. But very sad news in the running world. He will be missed by a lot of people, and he touched a lot of people, and he was a legend in the running community. So bad news, sad news, and bad news. Anyway, I hope you're having a great training day and a good training month ahead. So it's April. This year's already flying by. First quarter's already over. Wow. Anyway, have a great week. Bye-bye. Talk to you tomorrow.